So I woke up in the middle of my Capcom Cup LCQ weekend to find some of my content creator brethren huffing the copium over the fact that the other shoe has come down. The one I've been calling for over a year now. That the Nintendo Switch 2, or whatever it is to be named, has slipped to 2025. First off, here's my obligatory "I love being right" statement. But more to the point, those who have a more negative view of this development would certainly benefit from a more big-picture type of perspective, which I'm here now to provide. This is Little Akiba Games. I'm Patrick, your voice of reason. Welcome back to the shop. I've been saying it for over a year now. If Nintendo's next hardware is coming soon, it's not next gen. And if it's next gen, it's not coming soon. That isn't me poking fun at the segment of the Switch's player base that feels an actual sense of urgency for Nintendo to get a stronger piece of hardware out there. Not just that, anyway. It's me taking a look at all the credible information that has gotten out there surrounding Nintendo's next-gen plans over the last couple of years, constructing a coherent and consistent timeline based on that information, and coming to the conclusion that there simply wasn't a way for Nintendo to deliver a next-gen, backward-compatible, well-supported successor to the Switch in 2024. If you've watched my past Nintendo videos, you already know how I've arrived at this timeline. I'll include the important bits here, but this primarily comes from credible sources on Nintendo and broader game industry matters like Jeff Grubb, Nate the Hate, Digital Foundry, Shintaro Furukawa himself, and a handful of leakers who have more recently made names for themselves being absolutely spot on about Nintendo news. The rest is a good old-fashioned bit of analysis based on all my years studying and covering the game industry myself through the lens of educated conjecture and common sense. The story really begins with Digital Foundry making a pair of claims. First, that there was a Switch Pro in the works, but it was cancelled in the wake of the pandemic and was eventually replaced by the Switch OLED model. Second, that Nintendo had a next-gen system laid out, dev kits were distributed probably sometime in 2021 or 2022, but something forced a recall and an eventual replacement in 2023. Now, what exactly prompted the recall is important, because the circumstances of it would determine whether developers could simply save their projects in progress on the original dev kits to carry them over to the new ones, or the replacement hardware was so different from what originally shipped that they would have to start development over mostly from scratch. I think the evidence points to the latter, largely because of the timing. This was when the Switch truly became a runaway success and its potential to become the top-selling game console of all time came into view. Moreover, people are generally far more invested in the Switch than any other piece of Nintendo hardware in a long time, if not ever. And that carries with it certain requirements for a next-gen device to fit the needs of its audience. Specifically, backward compatibility. Shintaro Furukawa himself referred to the Switch's success at this stage of its lifespan as uncharted territory for a Nintendo platform, and has consistently come off as someone who would not even attempt a generational shift at all if he could help it. Now, with a library of over 100 physical Switch games at this point, I for one have no use for a Switch 2 that is not backward compatible. And having talked to a lot of you about this over the course of the past year, clearly I'm not alone in this position. This necessitates a next-gen system with architecture adjacent to that of the original Switch, which I'm convinced the pre-2023 project was not. Therefore, Nintendo recalled the dev kits, called up Nvidia, and started work on a next-gen platform that would be natively compatible with the absurd amount of Switch software that has sold through to consumers. An actual Switch 2. The dev kits went out in spring 2023, as was well and widely reported at the time, and studios got to work in earnest on their Switch 2 projects at that point. AAA projects in gaming have notoriously long development cycles. Even in Nintendo's case, one need only look at the prolonged development of The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Even more so, the comedy of errors that has been Metroid Prime 4. Even an average respectable game takes 2 to 3 years to turn around. So when you put the Switch 2 dev kits in spring 2023 and the launch in holiday 2024, what kind of launch lineup do you suppose that kind of Switch 2 could look forward to? Nintendo Land 2 and 1-2 Switch 2? No thanks. Now, I'm not saying that putting the launch off for 6 to 12 months is going to magically turn it into an epic packed with Marios and Fire Emblems and Xenoblades, but the games that make it will actually be games, which is more than could be said for the parade of lazy, gimmicky tech demos we could look forward to otherwise. It's a step in the right direction, for sure, and if you like launches to actually mean something more than just new hardware for the sake of new hardware, this is good news. It also doesn't mean that we won't be eating well in the meantime. Credible rumors and leaks abound of both first and third-party releases, particularly long overdue remakes and remasters, that will fuel the Switch throughout its final year plus at the forefront of Nintendo's product line. We already know about F-Zero GX, Skies of Arcadia, Golden Sun, Metroid Prime 2 and 3, Custom Robo, Star Fox Assault, and a new Mario Baseball installment. Here's one for you. The more calendar we can put between ourselves and the Switch 2, the greater the likelihood that we will see The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker and Twilight Princess ports to help bridge the gap with software. Especially this holiday season, where the general consensus is that Nintendo, and critically its shareholders, will be missing the buzz of a hardware launch the most. But how did we get here? Clearly, fall 2024 was the plan for Nintendo at some point in this whole process, and something must have happened that dissuaded them from moving forward with it. Simply put, I think it was a combination of things. First, Nintendo execs pay an abundance of attention to the community, oftentimes to the community's detriment. They knew that expectations were mounting for a 2024 launch, and there was a not insignificant portion of the player base trying to speak it into existence, and I think there was an honest effort at one point to make it happen. However, there was clearly a game, probably multiple games, that Nintendo deemed critical to a successful launch that just became evident they were not on track for this holiday season. Furukawa saw this, called an audible, and that's where we are right now. I've warned people on this channel before about the perils of trying to establish the narrative from the consumer side, and I genuinely believe that was a primary contributing factor to what we have here now. If you're one of the people who I'm talking about and are now completely bummed out about the delay, well,
congratulations, you played yourself.
As far as content we already know about goes, there's Luigi's Mansion 2 and Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door in the way of remakes and remasters, plus Princess Peach Showtime for a new release. In addition, the cupboards are about to be refilled in the next couple weeks with a partner showcase of which Star Fox Assault and F-Zero GX could very well be a part, as they are technically third-party games by Namco and Sega respectively, plus the well-established Skies of Arcadia. That should tide us all over to the June Direct, which may be the final, or at least penultimate, Switch-centric Direct to let us know what we'll be playing for the rest of 2024. Perfect place to finally show Metroid Prime 4, which may or may not make it this year, to the world, along with likely Pokemon Gen 5 remakes, and, of course, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess for the holidays. Oh, and Metroid Prime 2, we gotta get that in there at this point. There are plenty of people out there in Nintendo YouTube spouting a bunch of doom and gloom as if Nintendo had no plans to support the Switch even a tiny bit after the Switch 2 dropped, and that therefore any delay to the Switch 2 is a gap in all content still to come. That is ridiculous. Consoles as successful as the Switch live well into their successor's time at the forefront. Hell, the PlayStation 2, which the Switch is still very well positioned to surpass in lifetime sales, almost lived to see the PlayStation 4. In fact, when was the Wii's last release? The answer might surprise you. The point I'm trying to make is that the Switch was not primed to go away the moment Nintendo's next system hits shelves. With Switch owners 140 million strong and counting, both Nintendo and its third parties would be beyond stupid to drop support cold turkey over the launch of a successor with the installed base thereof. The pipeline will proceed uninterrupted. Count on it. In fact, Nintendo could market the push to 155 million sales as a way to spike both hardware and software sales in 2024. Pitching the year to fans as the system's victory lap. Drop the price on all three models, have 2 or 3 special editions in the pipeline throughout the year, and get ready to cruise to #1 all-time in hardware sales. If you've already got a Switch Lite as your main Switch, maybe a $200 standard edition or $250 OLED would be a tempting enough proposal to get you to upgrade. Perhaps you bought a Switch at launch, but a $300 Metroid Prime 4 OLED would be a bold enough proposal to convince you to upgrade. It might even be nice to have a $150 Switch Lite to take with you on the go without endangering your main system on the commute. Nintendo has options here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them explore all of them. Nintendo's only crime here is a crime against hype, which is really no crime at all. It might be a bit of a downer to know that we aren't getting our usual flow of marquee titles this year, but those marquee titles are clearing way on the calendar for outstanding games of past years that deserve to be brought up into the Switch ecosystem, especially since Nintendo has recognized that the Switch is such a signature console for them that it absolutely necessitates preservation in a compatibility line type of situation. The games that are coming, in the long run, we will be happy exist on the Switch, and the Switch too. That's all for now. If you like this video, then please be sure to let YouTube know all about it with your likes, comments, shares, and especially subscribes as we continue the climb to 1,000 subscribers in 2024. We just hit the 300 mark this weekend, and the best is yet to come. Click the notification bell to know right away when the next video is up. I look forward to seeing you back here next time at Little Akiba Games.